It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Mandy the Martyr. And now, on with the show!
Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name's Thomas Chick, and joining for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Les Webster.
Hello, all.
And Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
How are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Terrific.
This is going to be a long one, folks. Strap yourself in.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
So, what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Goodness.
Oh, man. I heard that.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Well, I missed a week, so I have a little catching up to do.
When she says she missed a week, she doesn't mean the show.
Yeah. I mean live, like spaced out there a whole week.
What year is it?
Well, it seems like every time around this year, something
This
like
year.
that.
Uh-huh.
This time of year, I always wind up either picking up the flu or strep. I think last year it was COVID, year before that it was COVID.
Wonder why.
So, yeah, can't break traditions, man. But yeah, so I apologize, and I thank you guys for working with me, but I couldn't speak without going into a coughing fit, and I couldn't hold my head up to speak anyways, so. But in this downtime, I think I watched a couple of movies.
A little fuzzy on the memory, huh?
A little fuzzy. Although one, I'm not sure. It may have been like a NyQuil-induced dream.
Well, at least we got a title.
Yep.
I shared it in Discord. So if you're a member of our Discord, it's a series called Murder Drones. And I've seen these little guys around, but I didn't know what they were. Excuse me. With all the Roblox and, that kind of crap, Minecraft. I don't know, I thought maybe it was from something like that. Don't even know how I ran across it. Must have been down a rabbit hole. But cute little show. I mean, it's like murdery robots.
Hence the title Murder Drones.
Right. Well,
okay.
The murder drones are actually there to kill the worker robots because at this point, I don't know if I think they said, but I can't recall. The humans have basically killed themselves off. We blew up the planet pretty much.
Yay.
And yay, we survived.
For our side.
You maniacs! You finally did it!
We finally
Damn
did it.
you all to hell! There's our Planet of the Apes reference.
We had, like, I was part of this series, Well, the humans had these AI robots that did the work. They built things, basically everything for the humans, which probably led to our demise. But anyways, when the humans all died, the company that owned the worker robots that don't live on Earth, not sure how that worked, but anyways, they send these murder drones to kill off these robots because they should be obsolete at this point. Kind of reminded me of Tim Burton's 9 a little bit. Kind of, but it's pretty. It's cute. I shouldn't say cute because it's bloody and fighty. The robots are cute, Since it's not a big production, I haven't really looked too much into who's doing this. It's on a YouTube channel called Glitch, And I don't know if it's like a team of them doing this or if it's a couple of friends doing this. I'm not real for sure. But there's not a whole lot of episodes out. I think there's 6. And if I saw right, it's taken them 2 years to get these 6 done. So a new episode is about to drop. I think maybe that's why YouTube recommended it to me. Plus, murder and all that other stuff. This will fit in. So it's cute. Like I said, each episode's maybe 15 minutes long. So 6 hours, it's a movie. But they have left it on a major cliffhanger. So I really do hope they continue it because it's kind of you're kind of at that point now where everything's wrapping up, but you're like, wait a minute, but what about this guy? So pretty cute little series. They've also got another series about to start called the Amazing Digital Circus, which I don't know. I heard rumor one of the clowns that's in this one, he kind of went crazy and like made everything pixelated and everything else and, all weird. I heard that when he comes back to his normal shape, that actually Jack Black will take over that character's voice. So that could be interesting, which also kind of makes me really wonder who glitches because Jack Black, that's a pretty big name, But then I also remind myself that there's a lot of actors and things who do indie projects just because they like it, So I don't know. We'll see. Or maybe it's something they're saying to get people into this. Because of that one, there's only the pilot episode. And I don't know. If Jack Black's not coming on it, then I probably won't watch it. Because it's a little bit too, I don't know the word for it. Cute. Maybe immature, maybe a younger audience, which is weird because, I watch cartoons and shit all the time, But I felt like maybe I'm not the target audience for this. Even if I assume, into a younger adult, I don't think I'd still be the target audience for this. I think we're looking at like maybe preteens, teens on this one. Because some of the humor is so, oh my gosh, and that kind of shit. So kind of annoying at times.
If there was murder clowns, you'd be all over it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, yeah. Well,
the kids would be cute.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole time I'm watching this, though, because it's like this little clown girl who gets stuck in this other world, and she hates it because it's cute. And I'm thinking, where have I heard this? I've seen this story before. And honestly, if I compare it to that, I really think that Scotty did a better job telling the story. So I probably won't go too far into this one. But that's also on their channel. As far as quality goes, whoever's doing this is doing a really good job because the animation is smooth. It's synced good. The voice work, it sounds like it goes with, what they're trying to achieve here and not just some Joe Schmo in the back room with a microphone, So it's honestly
that was my job.
Sorry.
It still is. What are you talking about? That's all 4 of our jobs.
Hey, Gina let him move up to the front room. He's not in the back room no more.
Curse you, woman.
Is he talking to you or is he talking to Gina? I'm not sure which.
Yeah, so if you have a few, like I said, go check them out because whoever it is, there's some talent behind it. Excuse me. One other thing I wanted to talk about because I'm seeing it everywhere and it's really, really making me sick. A few years back, well, it would go way back. A few years back, I talked about a show on here where I think her name was Joey Fisher, played a girl named Gypsy Rose. And I cannot remember the name of the story. The story was weird because, it was a true story. I believe on Hulu. But her mom, like, made her think that she was sick. And, like, for years told her she was sick, kept her in a wheelchair, really fucked her daughter up, you know. She talked a mentally unstable gentleman. She pretty much told him that she loved him, they could have sex any way that he wanted, and, kind of let him play out his fantasies with her. But in return, you have to kill my mother. So he did. And, yeah. I can't remember where I stood on this story a couple of years ago, but last month, I think she's only been out a month now. Last month, Gypsy was released from jail. I don't know. I'm her boyfriend, who she convinced to kill her mother, is still in prison. And people are like, well, she never held a knife. Okay. Well, Charles Manson never held a knife either. And he was locked up for life. Although he was responsible for a lot more murderers, what that stands for is sometimes the people who can talk you into doing things are a little bit more dangerous than the people who actually do them, So I think that if she was given a chance, then so should the little guy that she talked into this, because it would be different if he was a normal person. I hate to say that, because just because he's on the spectrum doesn't mean he's abnormal, but he's not of the same mental capacities that most people are. And she really used that to her advantage, So I don't know. Now she's like all over TikTok, all kinds of famous. I do not understand why we make stupid people famous. I don't. But it's like people are forgetting that she had someone murdered, Now, I'm not saying what her mother did to her was right, because it was totally wrong. I do believe that once Gypsy got old enough, she could have said some. I mean, I'm not going to be that person where I start victim blaming. But she was on the computer all the time. That's how she met this guy. She was talking to this guy for quite a while. They met at a movie theater. They had sex together while her mom was there. Not there, but her mom was there. But, she had all this, at her fingertips to do that, but she never told anybody what her mom was doing to her. And I think all it would take is if your mom is controlling you and making you, sit in this wheelchair and everything else, when you go to the doctors, how about you stand up and walk across the room for them? I mean, there's a lot of things she could have done other than to resort to murder. Her mom deserved to be in prison. Her mom was not right in the head, The same I can say with Gypsy. Gypsy is not right in the head. Even if you take all of that trauma out, she learned how to manipulate from the best of them. She was getting free trips to Disney World, and they had houses built for them and everything else. I feel that after a certain amount of time, she was in on the con too. You knew you were telling people you were sick and you weren't, And now that she's out, you listen to some of these interviews and she's like, well, I never held a knife, so I'm technically not a murderer. Yes, you are. You are responsible for the death of someone. Whether it was by your hand or not, had you not wanted her dead, she'd still be alive right now. So you are a murderer. I mean, that would be like saying Charles Manson wasn't a murderer. He was. He never held a knife, but he was responsible for how many people dying, So I'm having a hard time finding that compassion to give her a pass on all this, And of course, like I said, first couple of weeks out of jail, everybody's like, yes, Queen, slay. Yes, she did. She slayed her mother. you know. But now she's apparently said a few of the wrong things to the wrong people, and now they're canceling her. And it was like, yes, you should have done this when she first got out of prison, guys. I just have a hard time. And I thought we had laws against this. I don't think people should make money from their crimes. Whether you serve time for it or not, you shouldn't be able to make money off you killing your mother. That's sick. John Wayne Gacy, he wasn't allowed any of the money he got from his paintings, although those paintings had nothing to do with the killings, but they still said you can't make money from your crimes. People know who you are because of what you did, and that's the only reason they're buying an amateur painting, So I don't understand how she was making bank in prison. She continued to make bank once she got out of prison, so I don't understand how she's doing that, So, yeah. Just like I said, I'm sure you guys have seen her across your timelines if you're on any kind of social media at all. And I don't get the fascination. I don't. The story was interesting, but her as a person, no. I don't feel sorry for her. I feel sorry for the little kid that she talked into killing her mother. He told her numerous times he didn't want to do that, and he did. But because he's on the spectrum, people are like, oh, no, he should stay locked up. Well, maybe, but not in a prison. Maybe he should go to a mental health care facility where he can get the help he needs and not be around people who can manipulate him and make him do things he doesn't want to do, So, yeah, crazy. I just think, and even now that she's out, some of the stories of things that have happened to her have gotten so outlandish and crazy and so blown up. And for one, like I said, girl was making bank in prison off her story. These details would have came out, just for the docuseries alone, they made 2 of them on her. These kind of details would have came out at your trial. They would have came out in one of the 2 movies you have, But now, when she needs the attention back on her and needs more money, all of a sudden here's more of these awful things, But when people stop feeling sorry for her, I don't know. I said it's a crazy story.
That's why they made a movie.
Yeah,
Or
two movies.
Yep.
And then this week, Netflix released one other show. I haven't finished it yet, but I think it happened in 2016. Girlfriend, boyfriend, home invasion. They take the girlfriend and, tell the guy, you've got to get us $17,000 to get your girlfriend back. So he finds out they're not watching him, goes to the cops. 48 hours, the girlfriend shows up again. So the cops were kind of like, I think you're faking, and pretty much told the girl it was like a Gone Girl, like the movie and everything else. Didn't really even look into the case, and I don't know. That one's called American Nightmare. Like I said, it's on Netflix. I've only made it 3 episodes, but I've made it 2 episodes in. I started the 3rd, but the 3rd's too much. I will give you trigger warnings on that one. If you don't like, that kind of content, then the first 2 episodes are okay. But the third one, like I said, it was too much. I feel bad because boil it all down to girl was telling the truth, boyfriend was telling the truth, and they didn't believe her until more victims showed up. So, and I think what made it so unbelievable, though, is the links that these people went to when they, like, invaded their home. They put goggles on them. They were wearing wetsuits so they didn't leave DNA and stuff behind. So, of course, the cops were like, this is just weird. And I'll admit, as a viewer, I was like, this is fucking weird. What's going on? So it's definitely that kind of story when you think you're like, okay, so she did it. Then she shows up. Okay, no, she didn't do it. The boyfriend did it. Oh, no, he didn't do it. It's one of those kind of stories. So, but yeah, I like I said, the boyfriend and girlfriend wind up being completely innocent in all of this. The cops in the area sucked. But there was a story behind that, So it's if you like true crime, I guess I remember this story in the paper, and I remember her missing and her showing up, but I don't remember the media correcting that she didn't fake her kidnapping. And this series kind of corrects that, So pretty interesting. Oh, and one other thing. This will interest you guys. No, this ain't.
Damn it, we didn't jump in fast enough.
I'm sorry I didn't jump in there, guys. I'm sorry.
I was watching a thing on Jim Varney. You guys, Ernest.
Mm-hmm.
What's up,
Ernest?
Ern?
Do you know that he had a DeLorean before Doc Brown did?
No, why would
Pretty
I know
cool.
that?
I mean, he was like one of the few people who actually owned and drove a DeLorean. But not only was that interesting, in the movie Ernest, what is it? Ernest Scared Stupid?
Yeah, it sounds right.
Yeah, I think it was like his first or second one. The little like goblins and stuff in there, those masks that they use are actually repurposed from Killer Clowns in Outer Space. They just painted over them and stuff and made them the little creatures. And looking at them, it was like, I should have known that. Especially the ones the 2 that they show you, it's like, yeah, I mean, totally. But
see,
yeah,
that you didn't recognize them is a testament to the special effects coordinator for Ernest Scared Stupid.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool, though. Especially how far apart those 2 movies were to still have them around to repurpose. But yeah, like I said, I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't know if you guys knew that about Jim Varney or not.
Why, no, I did not.
No. Well, now you do.
I know surprisingly little about Jim Varney.
He used to be my favorite.
Your favorite what?
Person.
Wow.
He did commercials. He did movies. I think he even had like a Saturday morning kids show. He was just my favorite person.
Which of the clowns did he play?
Yeah.
All righty. How about you, Mikey?
That was a core dump if I ever heard one. Well, okay. So I watched a movie. I'm not going to pass a whole lot of judgment about it, but I watched a movie. It is not surprisingly given me an older movie. It is from 1958, and it was called She Demons.
Uh-huh.
See, Les
Of course, Les is, yeah. Of
course,
Les.
of course he knows it.
Sorry.
No. It's I like that you know it. Um, so this is the story of well, I won't go too spoilery. I'll say four people um, who are in a small boat and they crash in a storm on an apparently abandoned island that they then figure out is not quite so abandoned because they find a pocket of people that
A pocket full of
they
people.
well, I was going to say a pocket of civilization, but there's really only about 10 or 12 people.
It's better than calling it a pocket full of miracles, but go ahead.
Most assuredly not that, but there is a mad scientist involved, so there's that.
I just had a flash of like Gulliver Travels or something with a pocket full of little people.
See, now that's
Sorry.
kind of creative, really. Also, that movie probably would have been better than this one. But anyway, I say that. This was actually...
Liz, you're warped.
This was not a terrible movie. I think it got made fun of quite a bit because the special effects were kind of awful. But the movie itself wasn't half bad. It was the people that they find on the island are a mad scientist and his apparently troop of Nazi soldiers. Like I said, this movie is set in the present time of 1958, so they've been there out of touch for a while. We'll put it that way. And the scientist is trying to basically reconstruct the face of his wife who was marred in an accident, a scientific experiment gone wrong. And so it's this weird thing where he's trying to figure out a way of draining the beauty out of young women. And one of the survivors of the boat crash was a young woman. So, things go sideways from there.
What luck.
I know, right? Convenient. But again, this is a movie that I think catches flack for being terrible, but I don't think it was that terrible. The masks that they put on the young women, the she demons, if you will, those are terrible. The movie itself is a little, I mean, it's not super creative, but it's interesting and they've managed to build tension relatively well, and
There was an attempt.
and it's got they tried, and it's got Gene Roth in it, so that's always a bonus. It also stars Irish McCalla, so she was semi-famous by then.
Mm-hmm.
She was Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
And Gene Roth was well known from his work on a few Three Stooges shorts.
Yep.
He was Boris, I believe his name was,
Yes.
in the one with the microfilm.
Mm-hmm. On the ship.
Yeah.
That was stored. The microfilm was in the watermelons.
Cannot remember the title of this short, but there you go. That's enough detail for you to find it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's not Oscar worthy or anything, but it was interesting to watch. It was I mean, to call it original would be a stretch, but it was a good enough story. I liked it, and it's on Tubi.
On Tubi.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fun diversion.
Gene Roth had a very nice long career. He was a pretty good actor.
Mm-hmm.
I remember him from Earth versus the Spider. He was the sheriff.
Cool.
Earth versus the Spider.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, he did a bunch of sci-fi / monster movies, and he usually
which is
played,
basically what this was.
Yeah.
And he was kind of the chief thug in this one. He was not the scientist. He was kind of the head of security.
Yeah. He usually played like authority types, like like I said, a sheriff or that type of thing.
Yep.
And I'm going to bring it up because we're talking about him. Was in the Mission episode, first season.
Mission Impossible.
Was it what? Oh.
Mission Impossible. Yep.
Cool.
It was first season. It was the one where they infiltrated the beginnings of there was trying to be a fourth Reich. I'm sorry, and he was one of the generals, and it was oh god, I forgot who they were saying was the person who was responsible, because it was actually one of Hitler's lieutenants. It was the only time in the entire series they actually used a real person's name as a villain. Because they always said, well, it's an Eastern European country or da 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 da. And I can't remember what his name is right now. But it's a really good episode. But yeah, he was one of the German generals.
Was it Goering? That just sounds like one that they would pull out.
Oh, I'm gonna have to look it up. Shoot, let me see.
Yeah, it's interesting. For a guy who didn't really have an accent, he played a lot of characters with accents.
Yep.
A little weird. I mean, in a way, he sort of got typecast like that. I don't know. Like I said, in this movie, he was playing a Nazi heavy, basically.
Martin Bormann.
Ah, Bormann.
Yep. It dawned on me just as I was pulling up. It was, he played General von Krom.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course it would pop into my head as soon as a few seconds before I pull it up.
Sure. Of course.
Well, as many times as I've seen that episode, I thought it would have popped up sooner than that, but whatever.
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing.
Yeah. So, all right. Anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Les?
Let's see. I don't remember watching a movie. I have been watching a lot of videos for music, and I found a couple of things that I thought were really fascinating. One was a musician who was playing songs like Crazy Train. Her name is Allie the Piper. She was doing Crazy Train on bagpipe.
Okay.
She did some videos with a violinist named Mia. Those were fun to watch on YouTube. And I found twin harpists, and they go by twin harp. They go by harp twins, and they play alongside a couple of men that play drums, and I'm talking big ass drums that look like they were built on the spot. They weren't drums that were towed around, that's for damn sure. I found it very interesting that you can find weird stuff like that. But this was all good stuff that to me made me think about music in a different manner. and they were very accomplished. No two ways about it. So I recommend those just for fun.
Those were on YouTube?
Yes.
I would love to see your logarithm.
It's pretty weird, that's for sure.
Hey, I'm not criticizing because mine's pretty weird too right now. It's go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say it's the weirdest thing. It's just like one thing, and then all of a sudden it just within the last week or so, somehow it popped up a video of a recent performance from the Cutting Crew. Everybody remember that group? I Just Died in Your Arms Tonight.
Oh yeah, their hit.
That was the one hit. And that's what they were performing. I watched that video. Now every freaking version of that song by that group is now in my logarithm.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I've had that happen to me too.
And I'm like, oh Christ, what the hell?
I had a friend ask me if I had ever listened to, was it his name, John Mayer or Maynard or something like that?
It was John Mayer, yeah.
And he shared one song, and I swear to God, the whole next day, that was the only thing I could find on YouTube. Like, damn, dude. I mean, I liked that one song, but it was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Or Let the Baby use my YouTube.
Oh, no. No. Don't do that.
Mixed between true crime, Cocomelon, and Roblox.
I shared that video of the girl playing Eric Johnson's Cliffs of Dover, which is not an easy piece, by the way.
No.
And I saw that, and oh my God, that's all I freaking see now is every other person's version of that song. I'm like, no, thank you, I appreciate that, but no, watching her was incredible. And then her to turn around and on acoustic guitar would play the solo from Sultans of Swing, which was great. If you've not seen that's pretty freaking awesome too. She's very talented. But
yeah, check that out if you want to have Dire Straits stuck in your YouTube algorithm for the next 2 months.
Oh, I've seen every other version of Sultans of Swing or someone else's guitar solos and that kind of thing. Like, okay, I appreciate it. You got talent. That's good. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would like to do something about that freaking algorithm. Because were you through, Les? I didn't mean to interrupt you like that.
I was just going to say that I also found I love the song by Dexy's Midnight Runners, Come On Eileen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I found so many versions of that.
Yeah.
Everything from
techno to country. Yeah.
One of them was
Techno country.
Sugarland.
There you go.
Sugarland, a huge country group, and they were doing it.
Oh.
So seeing School of Rock do it,
Yeah.
that was just amazing. Because they played it like, oh yeah, we know this a long time.
Yeah.
Really well done stuff.
And speaking of that song, it's something I did not share on Discord because I was like, yeah, I don't want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't remember where I don't know if it was on Reddit or whatever, but someone shared a cosplay photo, and it was a young woman, and she was like wearing a dress, and she had a name badge on her, and it said Eileen, and then she had white stuff all over her face. I'm like, I get the reference, but
That's
what the hell?
a little tacky.
Like I said, I was not going to share that on Discord, but I was like, it's funny, but what the fuck?
Yeah.
And I'm like, how many people would get that reference? I mean, it took me a little bit, and I was like, oh, okay, I know the song. Yes, right.
There will not be a link in the show notes for that one.
No,
boys
there
and
would
girls.
not be a link. I don't even know where on Reddit that was. It hadn't been the memes, because I go to Reddit to try to see if I can find memes that I can post on Discord. That's probably where I saw it.
Oh, that's where those come from.
That and MeWe and a couple other places. So. Well, for me, yeah, I've been going down the rabbit hole of YouTube, as I've been saying.
There's a lot of rabbit hole there.
Oh God. Something I've noticed, we've talked about in the past about some of the game apps that are on the phone and some of the ads that are being done. I've noticed a couple of new trends that are really kind of getting on my nerves. I mean, we've had the whole thing of someone playing the game and just utterly failing, and somehow that's supposed to encourage you to, hey, you can download it because you can do better than this idiot. Now the thing I've seen is, well, only 0.1% people playing this game can get to this level. I'm like, and you're boasting? You're boasting that they can't get beyond that point? Okay. That's very encouraging. And then this other thing of people that I don't know who these people are. Well, I got an announcement to make. There's this brand new game here that da 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 da. I'm like, well, I'm happy for you. You know, why are you making an announcement about this game? I found this game, and of course, there's no ads and there's no buy-in stuff. I'm like, that's got to be a bunch of bullshit.
Right, I'm already watching the ad. Come on.
Right. Well, they say there's no there's no ads in the game. You don't need Wi-Fi and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I don't buy this for a second, but whatever. These are the latest trends is that I've noticed. I don't know if y'all have noticed or not. It just, and then this other thing with the card that basically you're getting $6,400 from the government.
Yeah.
I've been seeing a ton of that the last few days.
That can't possibly be a scam.
No scam at all. Nah, it can't be. It's just too good to be true.
It's from the government, right?
Well, it must be okay if it's from the government. Gosh.
Sure.
Government's never screwed anybody over.
And it's always free from the government, right?
Absolutely.
Well, that was what I was going to bring up. The guy that I've talked about in the past, the one who challenges all the scammers by using logic and questions, throwing questions at them, which they can't answer because they don't have a fucking clue. Of course, they talk about the new Medicare card, or hey, these new updated things where hey, you can get a food card or food stamps, or and it's all free. And he goes, so who's paying for it? Well, the government's going to pay for it. Making that free. No. It's like, yes. It's not free. I'm paying for it. I just paid for it as a taxpayer.
Yeah. Government's just a third or a middleman between me and my money.
He goes, you just don't understand this because you're over in India or Pakistan. You don't have this. You don't know what the hell's going on over here. It's so funny watching him tear into these people. There was one of them. I gotta find it. It was within the last week or so. I literally think the scammer just started going insane. Because at one point, the conversation turned into where, well, the scammer didn't call him, he called the scammer. And then he's not actually on the phone, this is a voice recording. You're like, what? What the hell did you smoke, dude? It really went weird.
Yeah. Can I send you some money for that? I'm kidding, Steve.
I'll have to see if I can. I don't know if I can find it because it's been about a week or so, and he puts out like 3 videos a day because he gets lots of calls, and some of these, even during Christmas time when things slow down, he had recordings. He had recordings from back from like April and May and March and all that he hadn't played because they called it. There's still people calling him for the ACA for healthcare.gov. Trying to sign up. He's like, the deadline's already come and gone.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So they're still trying that. But the thing is, people still fall for that stuff.
Right.
That's the sad thing.
That's the sad part.
Sadly, it's usually our older generation, because why would you fuck over an older person, you know?
Because they're the most fuck-overable.
Yeah. And
Wait
usually the most...
Present company excluded, of course.
Yeah, excluded, yeah. But if you think about it, usually in your older age, if you're retired, you have your retirement set up, you already have your savings set up. You know, you at that point you're pretty set in life. You would be the prime target because most people are still trying to get to that point, you know.
No, not really.
There's this one that I just recently found. Her quote unquote name is Trixie, but she messes with them as well. There was one. It was a healthcare thing, so they're trying to get all their information, but everything got tied up right at the end. Because she said her name was Victoria and that she lived in Victoria, Vermont. Well, the dude just didn't accept it. That the doctor was her doctor operating in Victoria. It was like, no, that's your name. Tell me where your doctor is located in Victoria. I'm telling you, it's in Victoria. It's almost like an Abbott and Costello thing that was going on here. No, ma'am, that's your name. I want the name of the town that your doctor's office out of, because I can't pull it up in the system. It's like, well, that's because it's a fictitious name, just like you're a fictitious person from healthcare department, which I love how everything is a department. I'm calling from Microsoft department. I'm calling from Norton department, or I'm calling from U.S. Healthcare department. They say that. They say that a lot. U.S. Healthcare Department is like, there's not a Department of U.S. Healthcare. There's a Department of Health and Human Services, but not a healthcare department.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't feed trolls.
Well, and a lot of them don't. That's
right.
Yeah, because that just only strengthens them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Strengthens their believability. But and there's another one where she's a voice actress, so she's on the line with them, pretending to be an older woman, but she also does Siri. So Siri interrupts the conversation a lot.
That sounds like fun.
Oh, it is. It's a blast. So I need to put some of those on the Discord too. So speaking of Discord, before we get into this week's discussion, we do have a Discord that's available for y'all to come join us if you want to hang out with us. We obviously post a lot of fun stuff, some videos, news items, stuff for discussion. We'll do hangouts, all that kind of stuff. Sign up for Discord is free. The app is free in all the app stores. We do have open invitation on our homepage, www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. So if you're so inclined, come join us. It's fun. We always have fun.
We do. We're not just saying that.
Nope, we're not just. Well, I mean, we are saying it, but we mean it. Okay. We're actually combining last week's and this week's discussion because they are both they're both music oriented, and we don't usually do a lot of discussion of music. So hey, this is kind of a rare, whatever you want, rare territory for us, I guess. What do you want to talk about first? Because I'm not sure we did discuss this pre-show on which direction we wanted to go.
Oh, let's go chronological.
Okay. So we are going to discuss the day that the music died, right?
Mm-hmm. That was the one that happened first.
That's the one that happened first. And that anniversary is actually coming up. That is February. It's February
3rd.
February 3rd, 1959. This is the day to where the small plane crash that killed Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big Bopper, and that was later referenced in the song American Pie. So let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, this happened just as Richie Valens was really becoming successful. He already had La Bamba and what was it, Donna?
Yeah, I believe so.
And of course,
Betty. A while. Jeez.
Yeah. Of course, Big Bopper had been around, and Buddy Holly had already been successful for a while. So let's talk a little bit about this sad event.
Yeah, it's one of those things that happen that kind of changes the face of. I mean, to say history generally is probably a stretch, but I mean music history for sure. I mean, these three artists. I mean, they were touring together here. Which is why they're all on the same little plane in winter in Middle America.
Right. Yeah, because it was in Iowa when
it was in Iowa.
Crash.
Concerts were different back then.
Well, music was different back then, and
yeah.
I mean, this was rock and roll was still very, very young. I mean,
But it was more of like a variety, not variety show, but a variety of artists that usually came together.
It was more a review.
There you go.
It's kind of like what was shown in the movie, That Thing You Do. That was kind of what a review was, where you had a multitude of artists, and each would get up there and do their set.
Yeah, see, 10 years later, they'd stretch this shit out to 3 days and call it a festival.
Mm-hmm.
True.
But back then, they would just do it in a couple of hours in an evening, and it would just be a fun show for local folks to go check out.
Yeah.
And it would have been younger people in a show like this because, like I said, rock and roll was just getting started. So it was almost certainly, well, whether it was intended or not, it was aimed towards the younger crowd. Teens and early 20s types. But yeah, I mean, it's a big hit for what's essentially a budding industry, for lack of a better term. Culture. Yeah. Culture is actually probably a better way to put it.
Right.
I mean, and kind of the sad thing is that stuff like that continues to happen. It continues to shape the culture in different ways. It usually takes some sort of big accident to shake things up. Or at least that's one way that things get shaken up in a musical culture. It's almost, you could almost go as far as to say that tragedy is one of the defining pieces of rock and roll culture.
Yeah.
And this was the beginning of that.
Well, and wasn't this also why Randy Rhoads never wanted to fly?
It could have been part of it.
He wound up dying same way. Yeah, if I ever make it famous, I ain't flying no more. Or taking a tour bus. Or playing cards on a tour bus.
Oh, Lord.
Were you going to take a submarine?
I guess so.
I'll walk.
Just what we need to sit around on a tour bus with Liz cheating at Uno, right?
Ace of spades removed from every deck.
There's no ace of spades in the Uno deck, Liz. We keep telling you that.
That's why I keep losing.
I didn't say cheating well. I just said cheating.
Yep.
People will look at her and go, "Walk, Forrest, walk."
Ouch. Not wrong, but ouch.
Maybe a train or something. I don't know.
Oh, because trains don't have any accidents, you know.
Less likely. Less likely. How many rock stars have we lost on trains? I'm going to have to Google.
No.
Hey, Siri.
We don't need this to Google. to go to Google this fast. I mean, geez.
Meanwhile, while she's walking, you can softly hear the Lonely Man theme from the Incredible Hulk show being played. Dun, 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 dun.
The theme song from The Fugitive.
Yeah,
Thinking the one that we were just talking about. I'd walk 5,000 miles.
Oh, God.
Famous people who have died in train accidents. Not just musicians, famous people. 16.
She was only 16. Only 16.
Don't stop there. Go ahead and go ahead.
This is not karaoke night.
Yay.
No, I'm talking about the list of 16.
Oh.
I didn't recognize half of them. Antonio Gotti. Yeah, like I said, some of these aren't even like American names. Not that they weren't important.
Or not that they weren't American either.
Yeah, it looks like most of them are from CZ. What is that? Czechoslovakia or not?
Yeah, the Czech Republic.
Yeah, that's where the most accidents are on trains. None in America.
It's because nobody rides trains.
Right.
Yeah. And most of them are riders. So if you're a rider, stay off trains.
Good. We could be the first.
Yeah.
Let's start a band.
Riders on trains. We got a name.
Riders on the train. Oh, okay.
Well, that diverted fast. Anyway, Buddy Holly.
Yeah.
The man was an innovator. No
Yes.
two ways about that.
Yeah.
He was a writer, singer. He composed. He was one of the first to use an orchestra as part of his backup. He had a multitude of songs. They want you to look to see what songs there are on this list, but they only list one song. He was an innovator. He influenced so many people. One of his big influences was a man named McCartney.
Mm-hmm.
And that floored me when I first heard that.
Well, I mean, honestly, there wasn't a lot of rock and roll at that point. I mean,
you had Chubby Checker. No, not Chubby Checker. You had Bill Haley.
Mm-hmm.
You had Chuck Berry. You had quite a few people.
Jerry Lee Lewis. Was he around at that point, or is he a little bit later?
He was around about that time, yeah. Elvis was around.
Elvis.
Mm-hmm.
Was Cash later?
Who?
Johnny Cash.
He was getting started around the same
Yeah,
time.
but he was leaning more C and dub.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did both kinds of music, country and
Yeah,
western.
country
And
and
Western,
western.
yep.
They called it Rebel Rock.
Country and Western. Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think that, I mean, you want to go into Johnny Cash, I think he kind of, it was hard to label that guy.
He was.
And I think that's part of what made him interesting
Iconic.
for a long time. Yeah, iconic is a better word, yeah, for sure. But yeah. I find myself wondering when it comes to Buddy Holly, what would his music have sounded like 10 years later?
Yeah.
I think he would have adapted toward the Beatles and not toward, say, the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
He would have been around for the Beatles. He would not have probably said much about the Stones, because his was more melodic in structure, yet he could give you a song that would get you up out of your seat and start to dance. When he did That'll Be the Day, if you do know the story of That'll Be the Day, right? It was
I do.
Pretend like
the time. And if any of you said, "Oh, I know that," then I'm going to just beat you to The title was based on a line from the movie The Searchers. John Wayne used that line in the movie. Somebody was talking about getting beat up. He said, "That'll be the day." That's where Holly got the line.
Huh. That's pretty cool.
That one always amazed me.
Speaking of iconic.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you've already posed that question. What would you think about the other two? How
Oh, sure, it applies to them too.
10 years later, what would Richie Valens' sound be like?
Right. Then what would the Big Bopper?
Big Bopper, yeah.
How's he going to back up? How's he going to follow up the success he had?
Yeah.
I would say J.P. Richardson would probably go back to his previous job of disc jockeying, because this was just a fluke. He didn't do anything else. Richie Valens. Trying to think of an influence at that time that he would follow. Something he established, but somebody he would follow.
Well, I mean, you could argue for him. I mean, if he hadn't died that night, you could. I mean, it would be interesting to see how much he would have expanded kind of the crossover thing he was doing. I mean,
for Tejano music and such.
Absolutely. Yeah. Which would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Like a Selena route.
It's kind of.
I got a feeling he would have been an influence on a lot of the Mexican singers, such as Selena, such as who did Different Drum? Who sang Different Drum? Linda Ronstadt, yeah. Because she's originally of Mexican root.
Yeah, it's true.
She released at least one Spanish language album later on.
And I'm going to say Multitude.
Yeah, I think she did. Yeah, a few. I don't. I think about this type of stuff every once in a while. I hadn't exactly with these three, but just certain. I'm not even going to leave it. I'm not even. Just what would have happened if they hadn't left us so soon. There's times where it kind of pops in my head. I hadn't thought about these three, but man.
Do you know the story behind the flight? The three of them were getting into the flight. One of the people gave up their seat for Holly.
It was Waylon Jennings.
Yeah.
Waylon Jennings.
Tells that story, yeah.
Yeah. Because wasn't it like a coin flip and Waylon lost and he says, "Well, I hope your plane crashes," or some such like that?
Yeah.
Or it may not have been exactly those words.
I think that appeared in a movie somewhere. I don't know how. I mean, it
How
kind of
accurate
smacks of urban legend, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You would certainly hope that wasn't the case, but
it seems like I mean, the more you think about it, it seems a little like an extreme of response. For you just lost out on the plane ride, and now you're hoping it would crash. I mean, it does sound kind of stupid, but hey, and it could, if it was said, it could have been said. It could have been said in jest. Who knows?
You would hope so. You would certainly think so. But
Yeah.
Of course, he's going to say that Jennings is going to tell you, yeah, it was in jest, and I have no reason to doubt him.
Well, and also, like, people are like, hey, break a leg. You don't really want them to go break their leg, but,
Well, but that's a term that's a stage term that's been forever, and I don't even know the origins of that. But yeah.
Something along the lines of it's bad luck to wish someone good luck.
Yeah. You tell them to break their leg.
Right. So you tell them something bad, so it'll all go well.
Just watch the last version of The Producers.
Yeah, we should probably do that anyway. Yeah. Yep, it's a big one.
It is.
Yeah.
Big sad.
Yeah. February 3rd. What was the year again?
59.
59.
59. So. All right, we were ready to move on to our next discussion then.
Let's
do a little bit happier.
A bit.
Happier discussion. This year marks the 60th. This is the 60th anniversary.
55th.
What of the Beatles?
Oh, the Beatles. Sorry, you're right. I was jumping ahead. Sorry.
The Beatles appearing on Ed Sullivan.
Yeah, that was 64.
Yeah, that was essentially the beginning of the British invasion, more or less.
Pretty much.
Yes, yeah, it was.
Which was, in case you don't know, the Rolling Stones, the Animals, the Dave Clark Five, Herman's Hermits, the Searchers, and Gary and the Pacemakers, Peter and Gordon. The main ones.
Yep, a sampling of the British pop / rock and roll acts that got a quick and extremely big introduction to U.S. audiences. Basically in 1964.
Mm-hmm.
Changed the music over here, that's for sure.
It did.
Definitely.
They said this appearance, 40% of every man and woman and child living in America had watched the Beatles on the Sullivan Show. That's a large percentage of people.
It is. Well, the Sullivan Show was pretty damn popular anyway.
Right.
Yes.
A lot of people watched that show. I mean, there wasn't a whole hell of a lot of competition going on back then either. So.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
But yeah, it got more than its fair share of audience that night.
Did you hear how Ed Sullivan met the Beatles?
I don't know if I heard.
Pretend like we didn't.
Yes. Sullivan was in England looking at acts to bring to a show. And while he was at the airport about to leave, he noticed a lot of kids standing around with signs of "We love the Beatles." Sullivan turned to one of the people with him and said, "Is this an animal act?"
What the hell's a beetle?
And, Well, remember, he had things like flea circuses on his show.
Yeah, he knew his insects. That wasn't the problem. What he wanted to know is why they were misspelling it.
Yeah. So the guy told him, well, no, this is the band from Liverpool that's returning from Germany, and they're the hottest band. That's when Sullivan decided to make contact with the U.S. agent and get them on his show. The appearance on February 9th of 1964 was the first appearance of the Beatles in America, which kind of cheesed the promoter off because he had them scheduled for Wednesday of that week. They appeared on Sullivan on Sunday night, and this guy had them scheduled for Wednesday for his program.
He got scooped.
Yeah.
He done got scooped,
I
but
bet
he
he was
didn't
pissed.
mind because he did get a nice paycheck for it.
Well, didn't they do like 3 nights on the Sullivan Show though?
In total, I think maybe so.
Okay.
But that night they did several sets too.
Yeah. And you would think when I said 40% that was the largest viewing audience. It wasn't. Do you guys know what brought in the largest viewing audience?
Topo Gigio.
No. Da 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 da. When little Ricky was born, 71 point. Or I think it's like 73% of Americans tuned in to watch that.
All right, look, I've watched a baby being born. It's not that impressive. I mean, it's impressive and all, but do
But
not
it wasn't
recommend.
Lucy's baby being born.
No, it wasn't.
America's favorite redhead.
Mm-hmm.
Just piece of trivia there.
No. Trivia on this
work
show?
my little redhead.
God, that's
Yep.
crazy.
And do you know how many viewers turned into the season? No, I won't go there.
Oh, God, this is going
But
to
you
turn
know-
into a viewer's report from I Love Lucy, the entire run. And in episode 163, it was...
But if you think about that, though, 40% of America's viewing TV audience at the time. I mean, TVs weren't very common. I mean, they were, but
They were getting popular.
yeah. So,
They're
I mean,
very popular.
that was a lot of families at the time, you know, to be tuning in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my parents were not happy.
I bet.
And you got to remember, that was black and white.
Yeah.
There was no color then.
Anywhere.
I imagine for our parents, it would have been like,
Yeah, yes, color wasn't invented until
Metallica coming on.
1974.
And then we had to put plastic on the screen and color it ourselves, you bastards.
Fast. You had to work fast doing that, too, man. 'Cause those little bastards moved.
There-
They appeared 2 weeks in a row? No. Yeah. They played on the 9th, and they also played on the 16th.
Mm-hmm. That's what we in the business call a big deal.
No doubt about that.
well, although popular over there, they were definitely more popular over here, I would say.
Which is good for them because we had like 10 times the population.
Yeah.
I mean, they were big in Europe too. I'm not. But, yeah.
Which was weird because of a lot of our guys didn't find fame until they went across the pond. So
Well,
we just have a habit of not liking our own guys.
it's a different. You have to. Sometimes you just have to go a little farther to find your audience. That's all.
Yeah.
Different places have different people with different tastes. It's all good. It's all one big happy world, right?
Yeah.
Right.
True.
There were some big names here. Beach Boys is one.
Yeah.
Beach Boys came out just before the Beatles did. God, what was the other one? I'm sorry, drawing a blank. Mike, go ahead and tell us like we didn't know. Go ahead. Yeah, they did, I want to say, 3 songs on the 9th, which was pretty good, because although Ed said that these were good boys, people didn't really know how to accept it, especially the parents. And if you watch the tapes of it, when they show crowd shots, it makes me think of, once again, the movie That Thing You Do. Because the adults are sitting there looking around going, what the hell is this? As the kids are going crazy. That's what was going on in Sullivan's show. I did watch a video concerning the Sullivan appearances on YouTube. And it was really interesting. It was a half hour or more of just them talking about the boys getting into America and appearing and how the fans responded, things like that. I'm sorry to say I can't recall the name of the video. I need to find out.
Yep, another seismic moment in rock and roll history. At least nobody had to die for this one.
Dang.
Yeah.
I was muted.
And if you look at it, it was about, 9 years after Holly's dying?
Yeah.
That was on February 3rd.
5.
59 to 64.
59 to 64.
Yeah, 59-64. Yeah.
There was a 9 in it, yeah.
Bastard.
So if you're curious about the set they did, the first song they opened with was All My Loving. Then they also did, the second song they did was Till There Was You. They cut away for a commercial and they came back with She Loves You. They did a magician act, and then they did, after he told all the girls, you better be quiet or I'm going to send them to a barber.
Oh, that's good.
They came back and did 2 more of their songs, which I saw her standing there and I Want to Hold Your Hand. Not bad songs to be introduced by.
Well, they had the luxury of having had several hits in the UK and Europe already, so they could kind of play their best stuff.
Yeah. And this is during the time, don't kill me, I call this their bubblegum period.
Oh, yeah, no, very much so.
I want to hold your hand. Just kind of,
why
chippy
is,
and, yeah.
I'm sorry, why is that bubble gum?
Because it's, yeah, like I said, I'm going to get killed here, so.
Oh, yeah.
For me, the
Rip
Beatles
Liz.
went through stages. With their first, what I call bubblegum era, there were good songs. I love them. Absolutely love them. They were good songs, but they didn't have like a lot of substance to them. It was, I want to hold your hand and She Loves You. Yeah. I mean, not a whole lot of substance behind them. But then
there wasn't a lot of substance behind any songs back then, though. So, I mean, it kind of fits.
Yeah.
It's not, yeah.
I think when they got into like Blackbird and stuff was really their found their feet, was moving, and
Rocky Raccoon.
They grew.
well, I would call that their experimental time. You can definitely tell when they were experimenting because their music got more
Poetic?
yeah, there you go, poetic, and a little bit more meaning and substance behind them. It wasn't what everybody was doing at the time, because at the time it wasn't just the Beatles that was bubblegum. That was just the music at the time, and then I think they were the ones who kind of broke it into a little bit more, like I said, more depth behind their music, a little bit more meaning and a little bit more of themselves in the music. And it didn't feel like
they weren't trying
they were
to
performing
be popular
anymore. Right.
like they had been early on. Because honestly,
right.
Lennon and McCartney had been writing songs professionally for a while before they founded the Beatles.
Yeah.
True.
So they knew what they were doing. They had been doing it for a little while.
Well, and to capture into that moment, they had to be bubblegum.
Right.
They had to.
By whatever definition you're using there, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, what was the Stones' bubblegum music?
Let me look at their music.
Uh-huh.
I'm not a big Stones fan.
Well, they just came out and started playing. They didn't have the light songs that you're talking about.
No, they really didn't.
Yeah, their songwriting was different. I mean, the
Right.
music itself was catchy, but the songs were a little different. I mean, and honestly, a little darker. Or at least a little more racy.
During that time, they were doing like Paint It Black and Satisfaction's kind of bubblegummy.
Satisfaction has kind of a bubblegum sound to it, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's definitely about not being able to get laid.
Right. In a way that they wouldn't get censored.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Walking the dog. Yeah, I mean, they had I would call it their radio hits. And then they had their other ones like Paint It Black and stuff, which was a little bit more darker and deeper and,
Right. You start getting that later when you start getting into I mean, a lot of that was done in the 60s, and you kind of didn't get to hear it much until you get into the 70s when FM rock became a thing and
Right.
album rock and what we now call classic rock started to be a thing, and so it turned into cuts from that.
And I don't know a lot. Like I said, Beatles, or not the Beatles, Rolling Stones has never been like my favorite band or anything else like that. But I wouldn't have classified them in the same group with the Beatles. I would have classified them more with like Lynyrd Skynyrd or Clarence Clearwater, something along that lines, a little bit more heavier, like you said, a little bit more of a deeper song than what was going on at the time with like Herman and the Hermits and the Beatles and that kind of thing. I think the only reason they're part of the British invasion is because they came over at the same time. But I wouldn't have put them together.
Right, and you could also maybe argue that you get like Herman's Hermits and the Dave Clark Five as kind of the bubblegum acts, and the Beatles is more of a transitional heading
Maybe
in the
between
direction
those two?
of the Stones and the Who and those. Yeah, I mean, it's how I would kind of save your ass with this one.
Right. Well, and like I said, I like bubblegum. It's not bad. Me and Phil have had the discussion
chews it all the time.
A lot of Van Halen. I consider it bubblegum. Just poppy kind of. The only thing that kept them rock was their hard riffs. If not, they would have thrown them off in the pop world with the bubblegum.
Mm-hmm.
But no, anything Beatles, I absolutely love it. I don't think they did anything wrong. Besides split up, But,
I mean, there's an argument to be made that it was time for that too. But
yeah. Well, they had kind of hit that point. They weren't touring anymore. They were just doing studio. And hey, if you ever get to a point in your career where you don't have to tour anymore, bravo. You
Good for
have
you.
fucking made it,
You won,
you know?
right?
Yep. But that was a different music scene back then. You depended on album sales and cassette sales and stuff, you know. So for them to cut it and totally be, no, we're just going to, you know, do studio. I think that was, although that was the high point of their career, I think that was the beginning of the end. I think when you get comfortable, that's when you entertain thoughts that you normally wouldn't have.
Oh, sure. If you're comfortable enough to put out the White Album, you definitely, I mean, that's a marker that it's going to be over soon.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's basically, like you said a few minutes ago, it's basically all experimental stuff. I mean, some of it's really good. A lot of it is really good. And there's some, like you said, some definite strong themes in there. But yeah, again, that's not what brung you.
Yeah.
And so you're doing something very different, and you need to be prepared for the idea that whatever it is you're doing here is not going to keep going.
Well, and how many bands can you say that was able to transition that way?
Not that many.
Yeah. And most of the time when you see a band transition that way, it's to kind of go with the flow, like grunge music. Grunge had to transition or they were going to get lost, you know. And so Soundgarden, Nirvana, all of them kind of made their way over into the rock world to get out of that. But some of them didn't make it. You know, Pearl Jam didn't make it, thank God, but they didn't make it. They can't adapt. They can't change the way they are to adapt where music was going. I don't think the Beatles had to change or adapt. I think they were the change, and people had to adapt to keep up with them. So it kind of pushed our musicians out of their box because, hey, who are these British assholes coming over here and, you know, shaking things up? We got to do something. And that was the bar. They were the bar.
And if anything, if there's any transitions for bands or artists, it's usually the other way around. You know, when they first start, they're a little bit more experimental and that type of thing. And then they start kind of slowly becoming more radio friendly and mainstream.
See, and that kind of mindset came later too. That came after. Yeah. I mean, and the Beatles might have influenced that to some extent. I mean, the young kids wanted to make the White Album right off the bat, and didn't always work out.
Well, and most good musicians that you talk to, when you see what their influences in music are, I will say that 9 out of 10 of them that I personally have talked to will name the Beatles.
Sure.
They left a huge footprint in the music world it's still the bar.
Mm-hmm.
They were essentially the first to do videos.
Well, like
whole friggin' movies, man.
Yeah, as I say, they're little movies and stuff. Although, do you know the Yellow Submarine was not, or Sgt. Pepper's was not supposed to be made? They actually wanted to do Lord of the Rings. And they were told, no, you can't do that. And so instead of doing that, they went ahead and did Sgt. Pepper's instead.
Are you saying they as in the Beatles?
Yeah.
Wanted to do that?
Wanted to do Lord of the Rings, yep. I think they said McCartney and Ringo were real big Tolkien fans.
Yeah, see, the Lord of the Rings hit a big, it had a big resurgence in the mid-'60s because it was published in the mid-'50s originally to not much fanfare.
Right.
Somewhere along the line, it got republished in the mid-'60s, like 64, 65, somewhere in there. And it was huge in the UK. And it bled over here too, and that was when it started to get big here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have no trouble believing that.
Yeah.
They weren't the only ones either.
Which it's kind of nice they were told no. As much as I love the Beatles, I can't see them doing a good Lord of the Rings story,
Well, I certainly
I
can't
want to
imagine.
hold your ring.
I certainly can't imagine stodgy old Professor Tolkien saying, "Oh yeah, let's let these 4 kids from Liverpool do this."
Yeah, these little hippie kids,
Right. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No chance. Because he was still around then.
And I
This
think
was
I shared
pre-hippies.
I think I shared it
It
with
was.
you, Mikey, the Flight of the Conchords.
Yeah,
when they
you
redid
put that in Discord.
That's
a
kind of
little
what the
ways back.
Beatles reminded me. That would have been it.
It would have been not unlike that, yeah. Which is an interesting statement, I must say.
And not only that, I mean, I am calling the movie The Right Thing, right? Sergeant Pepper? Or was it The Yellow Submarine?
I
think it was Sergeant
the
Pepper.
animated Yellow Submarine was animated, right?
Right.
Yeah. So whatever was animated, that's what they did instead of doing Lord of the Rings.
Because the Sergeant Pepper's movie was
Later.
the Bee Gees the Bee Gees and Peter Frampton.
Yeah. Like 76,
Yeah.
77, something like that.
And
George Burns.
I heard something interesting. Now, I hope I can get this story straight, because that's part of why I wanted Tommy to come and talk to you guys tonight. He was telling me that there's rumor. Now, this is all rumor, okay? That right after the British invasion, right after they did the Sullivan show and everything else, there was a really bad accident, and Paul McCartney died.
Oh, jeez.
And
yes, this was
instead,
big at the time.
This was the start of their, that was their takeoff, and they were kind of sitting there like, fuck, what do we do now? So instead of telling people that he died, they replaced him. And that's why in Sergeant Pepper, when it starts, they're all standing there at the graveside, and it's never really explained why. And they're like, if you look at Paul McCartney when he was on the Sullivan Show to Paul McCartney even like 2 years after that, they don't look the same. They look similar, but not the same.
The old Paul is dead myth.
Yeah. So I had never heard that, though. So it was kind of like, that's interesting,
That's why his back is to us on. Is it on the album cover or is it interior? What is it?
He's
Magical Mystery Tour.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say he's out of step on the Abbey Road cover.
Well, yeah. Right.
But I mean, you could explain that by him being left-handed, but whatever.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting. I don't,
It's a false statement.
Yeah, it was.
Well, kind of like the fifth Beatle kind of, thing. I think there'll always be rumors out there just because they did some really weird, trippy shit.
There was a fifth Beatle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Billy Preston.
No.
Well, didn't they consider that was Epstein, the manager?
No, it was a guy named Pete Best.
Pete Best. He was their original drummer.
Mm-hmm.
Ah. See, and I think if you hear the rumors of the fifth Beatle and the death rumors, you see where things like that take off.
You know where shit like that took off? It took off in all of the fan magazines that were being printed at the time. That's where that took off. That's where crap like that came from.
Well, it was clickbait back then.
Yeah, it was basically. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was the 1960s version of clickbait.
Yeah.
100%.
See, I thought that was interesting, though, because it was like, yeah. I mean, I remember kind of watching Sergeant Pepper. I don't think that's when you watch sober, but, I remember it being popped in.
Well, something was getting popped in somewhere, right? Anyway.
Now, something also, going back to looking at Holly, the Beatles were a big influence for groups then and now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People listened to their music and brought the people brought their own thoughts forward to be part of it.
Mm-hmm. Standing on the shoulders of giants and all that.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So do we want to go ahead and jump ahead 5 years?
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Still talking about the Beatles, but this is the famous rooftop performance, which was their final performance as a band.
Now think about that. You said 5 years later?
5 years.
5 years.
And their last live performance as a band?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they'd been around in the UK for a couple of years before
Right.
Sullivan, but yeah, it was their last live performance.
And
So
Paul
if
is
you look
still
at
alive.
Mm-hmm.
Years on
You're right
top, little perspective, 5 years of good popularity, making it work and everything else. We're in 2024 and we're still listening to this band and they're still influential, you know? That's how many bands can you say that about? Maybe Rolling
handful.
Stones,
A
you know,
handful.
but yeah,
Not very many.
not many. So even if people don't like them, you have to props to that, you know.
Yep.
Most bands you get out of the public eye for a couple of months and you're forgot about, you know. They move on too quickly. Especially music from this era, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And the rooftop episode, The Simpsons copied it.
Simpsons copied a lot of stuff, but yeah,
They did.
Well,
they
so
copied a lot
did
of important stuff. So did who?
what was the movie Across the Universe?
Oh.
It ended with that rooftop concert.
Mm.
Well, you two did it too.
Yeah, but they're still going. They forgot the stopping part.
Mm. Well, they still hadn't found what they were looking for. So.
Oh, wow. Tossed that one up there, didn't we?
Mm. Have y'all watched the film, the performance?
Yes.
Not in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while for me
Not
too.
since it's been locked down behind whatever the hell contractual crap it's behind now.
Yeah.
My understanding is that a good chunk of it is in the was it Disney Plus had the documentary not too long ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Get
think so.
Back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that series was them leading up to the concert on the rooftop. They discussed where they were going to appear, things like that, through these episodes, which was fascinating as can be. And then they get to the final and just go, okay, we're going to go to the rooftop and appear there.
Cool.
That's pretty cool.
Because wasn't this supposed to them doing this? Wasn't this to see whether they could keep on going, or was it as a band, or is it okay? Is it time for us to just move on? Wasn't that kind of the whole gist of why they were doing the performance? And to see whether or not they still want to do it, or
Originally,
yeah,
I would say it was because they had felt like they had run their course and they were ready to get out of that mode. Each wanted to go their separate directions.
Kind of enjoy what they built.
Right,
Yeah.
do something different.
And that was just short of 10 years since the passing of Holly.
Yeah.
History moves fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they had, what, five performances, 5 songs that they did, all new.
Yeah, I read somewhere that the total was about like 40 minutes. So
Yeah.
I would buy that.
40 minutes before the police shut them down.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, well.
they didn't bother to get permits. They were the Beatles.
Mm.
And they were on top of the building that they owned. That's what the weird thing was. They owned that place.
Mm-hmm.
The concert ended with Get Back. And John Lennon jokingly said, "I'd like to say thank you on behalf of the group and ourselves, and I hope we pass the audition."
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
That sounds like Lennon.
Lennon being a smartass? No.
Nah.
He never was. Yeah.
Oh no, of course not.
They all were.
I told you guys about that series Beat Bugs that's on Netflix. I think it's a Netflix original. It takes all of the Beatles hits and like makes a whole like episode around it. It's pretty neat the way they do it. It was like, I'd like to see how they do that with Lucy and the Skylar Diamonds. But they actually made it kid friendly, and I think it's funny because years later, when Leanne and Ella are teens, they're going to be like, "Holy shit, this ain't about a dream catcher. She's on drugs." So, but it is cute. I mean, even as an adult, you want to check it out. I think there's 3 seasons so far of this, and they're still ongoing. But every hit the Beatles has an episode, and it's like these little bugs, not Beatles, but little bugs that the whole thing centers around.
Should have made them Beatles.
Which to
I
me,
guess that's a little too on the nose, but
I
whatever.
suppose, yeah.
To me, that's pretty cool, though, because that's generations like Leanne now who can take this music forward and carry it on, Keeping it relevant.
Now, I already said that Across the Universe had the rooftop, but it also did a whole movie which featured Beatles music, as did the music movie Yesterday. But back in the mid-'70s, if you can find one, I want a copy also. I've got it on vinyl. But there was a 2-album set put out with Beatles music done by various artists. And the name of that was All This and World War II. It is one of the most fascinating albums I've ever heard, because it gives you a story, and each section or each song gives you a section of the story which continues from one end to the other. I would love to find that on CD, but at that time they only had vinyl and 8-track.
Dude, you are aware of the resurgence of vinyl, right?
Yes.
You could go get a turntable if you don't have one.
Well, no, I have the turntable. I even have a turntable that will record on CD if I can figure it, son of a bitch, out.
It's an interesting concept, the idea that they would go back and take songs from an artist and retrofit a concept album out of it. Because that's kind of what it sounds like you're describing.
Yeah.
Well, if you go on YouTube, you can watch Postmodern
Jukebox?
Jukebox, yeah. That's got some great stuff on it, too.
Mm-hmm.
Legends for sure.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Well,
yeah.
and as sad as it is to think about the end of the Beatles, I mean, they got to do it. They got to go out on their own terms. They got to
did.
kind of go do what they wanted to do, which not all of them get to do.
They
Oh,
don't.
true.
And it's nice when you get to pick your time like that. There's a couple of TV shows that have been able to do that, and I like that better than being canceled, you know.
Yep.
Well, I guess on that note, we're going to take a quick break. I hope you enjoyed this. We don't talk music that often. We probably need to do more, so I'll work on that. We are going to take a quick break and be back with Geek News for You. And we're back, and it's time for Geek News for You. In this segment, we bring a couple of news items to the table for discussion. And for this week, it's Mike and myself. Mikey, would you like to go first?
Sure. So my story for this week is kind of exciting in a way. I mean, I think it's a cool idea. So we're going to get a new Dick Tracy comic coming up here in April from Mad Cave Studios. That apparently, this is apparently a bit of the Dick Tracy license has been a bit of a struggle in years of late. Apparently there were some issues a few years ago with a licensing problem, but right now, as of right now, Michael Morrissey and Alex Segura have definitely got nailed down the license for the character so they can start this comic rolling again. We can get some new Dick Tracy stories, which, I mean, how can you not like that? Jeez. It's a character that's been around forever, and usually that's for a good reason. So,
Yep.
Big Yellow Guy is going to be back in action soon.
Yay.
Woo.
That's good to hear.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. For me, my article is a little dated, but I thought it's interesting because I think it's a sign of things to come. A couple weeks ago, as of from when this is actually being released, we had the AFC wildcard game, which was streamed on Peacock, because they had got the rights to be able to do that, much to a lot of people being upset about that. But according to this, the game drew 6% bigger audience than last year's primetime AFC wildcard contest. Comcast reported that more than 30 million paid Peacock subscribers at the end of September. According to this, there was it averaged 23 million viewers this year, as opposed to 21.8 million across NBC, Peacock, NBC Sports Digital, and NFL Digital. So, and everybody seems to be happy about that, including Commissioner Roger Goodell. He's quoted saying, "We couldn't be prouder of our partnership with Peacock and are thrilled with the results of the first ever exclusively live-streamed NFL playoff game. To best serve our fans, we need to ensure games are available to them as their viewing habits change, and this includes digital distribution as we continue to help shape the future of sports and entertainment industry." Which is code for saying we're probably going to have a lot more playoff games and a lot more games in general going to be on streaming services.
I mean, they've already been doing regular season games on Prime, so.
Yeah, I mean, there's been the Thursday night games, which, someone correctly commented saying, well, yeah, but you can watch it free on Twitch, but, I mean, that's Twitch. Come on, guys. Let's think about this. But, I know there's a lot of people that are pissed off because, it used to be free. Now you got to pay for it. Well, there was a time when Monday Night Football was on free TV. But that changed when it got moved to ESPN. How many years ago?
A lot.
So you got to have cable to watch ESPN to watch the Monday Night Football.
Well, and most people at this point are watching their local channels through cable anyway, right?
True.
And have been for decades.
Yeah. So
how many losers like me are still using an antenna? That said, right, exactly. And that said, it wasn't my idea, but we signed up for Peacock and watched the game at our house. So I was just going to skip it. I wasn't going to worry about it, but the wife was looking into Peacock and there was a deal and she was like, "Oh, screw it. It's only X amount for a whole year. Sign up for a whole year." I'm like, "Yeah, that's how they get you. You know that, right?" She's like, "Yeah, but we can cancel it if we want to." I'm like, "Uh-huh."
Well, and that's something else that was brought up. It's like you could sign up for Peacock and of course there's the free trial and then you can turn around and cancel it after watching the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But this is a sign.
How many of that 23 million did that?
Who knows?
Right. They will never tell us.
That will not be disclosed. No.
Right.
To our listening audience, if you want to get Peacock, don't get it for sports.
No. There's that. Honestly, that was why we got it, was because my wife was looking at the list and there's just a shit ton of stuff in there, and it's
tons.
Yeah.
I think I've mentioned before that Peacock is like kicking ass in the streaming thing. I mean, they came out of nowhere and they've got some of the top hit movies before anybody else does now. Some of the best TV shows are premiering over there now. Yellowstone, Twisted Metal. I mean, it's the one to definitely keep your eye on because it's about to explode, especially now with the sports thing. I don't like it, but I understand a lot of you do.
And not to contradict Liz or anything, but I'm going to contradict Liz a little.
Yay.
If you have any, not burn, not that kind of contradict. No, if you are interested in sports and if the Olympics has any interest for you, there's going to be you're going to be able to get a lot of it on Peacock. So if you're going to sign up for it, this summer would be the time to do it because Summer Olympics is going on.
Yeah.
Like I said, tons of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, they're getting theater hit movies before any of these other streaming services are.
Gosh, she's making up for the Dick Tracy story.
She totally is.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Out of my wheelhouse.
She was good for one story. That's all we can ask for, really.
Yeah.
No,
But I mean, I had to do that. But I mean, this is what's gonna happen. Because I mean, they tried it out. They saw some signs of success, so it's only going to get worse. There's going to be a point where all the sports is going to be on streaming services.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
It will happen because everything is going to be on streaming services.
It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Mm-hmm. And you got to realize that and decide what you want, because I mean, go ahead.
Well, and right now, if you have cable, ESPN is used as a bargaining chip right now. That's what all these deals are making and breaking on. If you give us ESPN, I mean, I think my story a couple months ago was how many kids programs did they cut just to get ESPN?
Just to keep ESPN. Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
And honestly, NFL Network is even worse. It's usually an even higher tier. And the thing to keep in mind about all of this is Peacock is basically NBC. And NBC is basically the operating partner of NFL Network. And so there's a very close relationship between the NFL and NBC. So Peacock was aware this was going to happen.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and isn't ESPN on Disney Plus?
Yeah, ESPN is owned by
Yes, it's owned by Disney. Yeah.
I was gonna say, they bundle it with something, or I wouldn't have it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is going to happen. Just like I had mentioned in one of these stories we talked about before, that there's going to be a day that comes where original content is going to be on a streaming service, and then will eventually wind up on free TV. Not the other way around that it's being done now.
Well, Yellowstone did that. It was strictly streaming, and then it went to when Kevin Costner and Taylor Sheridan had their little spat, it went over to free TV and started and premiered there again.
Well, part of that was due to the strikes too.
Right.
Right. They were fishing for something to put on.
They were trying to find something other than more reality TV.
Which, ironically, is why we got Monday Night Football on ABC.
Yeah.
For the fall, because ABC didn't have anything else to show.
Yeah.
And they are also owned by Disney Plus, so they just ported over the ESPN feeds.
Yep.
Hmm.
Was there no pushback for that Peacock?
Oh, there was people that complained about it, especially on social media. But I mean,
that's meaningless.
They always do.
That's meaningless,
yeah.
Right? It's all about
especially
the bottom
when
line.
they looked at their numbers. Yeah.
Right. It's about how much money they can make.
We got more than we didn't.
People bitching online is free publicity as far as they're concerned.
Yeah.
And I myself, I'm kind of glad that they've moved it to like this, because like when they used to play that on Sundays and stuff, it cuts into your programming and.
Yeah, how many Hallmark movies did they screw up because they're watching football? I mean, come on.
No, normally it was the Animation Sunday, like when Animation Sunday was at its peak with The Simpsons, Family Guy, and All American Dad. I mean, when they were popular, and they would cut into that, and it's like, oh my God. Because that was, of course, before they started playing it over on Adult Swim.
They pushed it.
No,
yeah, so
they didn't push it.
Oh, they started actually cutting it?
Yeah,
that's
they
new.
would
They
cut
used
it.
to just push it.
Yeah.
Yep. Nope.
Especially after the Heidi game.
And then I hated when they would do the freaking French House Open or whatever the hell golf is, and they would cut into my soap opera, and it's like,
Well, it's soap opera, so I mean, come on.
How many housewives you want to piss off today, dude? And then they're like, oh, but wait, we'll play this at like 2:00 in the morning for you. Now, tell me, most
just going
moms
to
who
DVR
watch
it
soap
anyway.
operas,
Come on.
Yeah. Well, no, this was like before DVR. And not only that, when they do things like that, when they push it off till 2:00, at 2:00, if it was like the news or the Ninja Blender show, that's what it's labeled at. So your DVR's not going to pick up your soap opera at 2:00 in the morning because it's playing Ninja Blender.
Because that's a programming thing. But
Yeah.
I mean,
So it's like, sports. So I'm glad they put it all together, and
well, it wasn't
people who
just
want to
sports,
watch it
just,
can pay to watch it.
I mean, if there was breaking news, they would do the same thing too.
Oh,
Yeah.
they did that the other day with a football game. I forget what it was. They cut in at the 2-minute warning and were talking about weather that hadn't even happened yet. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That was weird.
Oh,
You lost. I mean, it was a blowout. Don't get me wrong. But so was the Heidi game.
Affects everyone.
Yeah.
Football doesn't affect anyone. So I would rather hear about
That's not true.
buildings explode than who made the last touchdown. I don't care.
Football affects a lot of people. Okay,
Well,
I take that back. Football affects a few very important people with a shit pot of money.
Right.
And that's always going to be more important. And
But
you
the
know that,
majority
but
of
you don't
us
like
are
it.
like, why don't you play this football game at 2:00 in the morning? I'd rather watch Judge Judy or whatever's playing at that time.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Judge Judy reruns?
I mean, no, I'm talking about things that get interrupted with golf and stuff, the tennis matches and all that other crap that they force you to watch because it's not just one channel they've got it on. It's all freaking 5 of them, How many channels do you need to show a boring tennis match? Or put it all in one place. If you want it, go to it. If not, leave our channels alone.
Let it go, guys.
I
She's
pay
ranting.
for those. But see, now they've moved my soap opera to streaming, so
There you go.
it's okay.
So problem solved.
Yeah, there we go. So what's the complaint? I mean, come on.
Football, that's the complaint.
What is your soap opera?
Days of Our Lives.
That old rag?
Yep.
You realize he was going to
That
say
one.
that no matter what you said, right?
Yep. Jensen was on there, right?
Oh,
No.
Jesus.
I had no
He
idea.
was.
You don't mention that every week or anything at all.
We almost made it, guys. We almost made it. Just a
So
fucking
close. So fucking close.
No, I started watching Days of Our Lives with my grandmother, like when she would watch us after school and stuff. So it's kind of one of those things that I haven't watched it in quite a while, but I can guarantee you I could flip it over there and I could tell you exactly what's going on.
You know why? Because it's the same damn
the
thing.
Same thing. Yep.
Anyway.
second verse, same as the first.
Yeah. Yeah, it's me and-
Talk about Henry's Hermits. Hermits.
Yep. Oh, anyway.
Alrighty.
No, I want to hear more. No.
I'm trying to wind up the show, dude. Come on.
Didn't you try to get me to go more? No. Come on.
Did it work? No. All right, then.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yeah.
No. We're not going back to that. We're not going
I
back
was
to
wrapping
that.
it up. Yeah. Good for them. I'm glad they got their numbers. They'll stay over there. But one last thing.
No.
I do like that they put it on
Okay,
streaming.
I'm cutting it right now. Bye.
Well, no, I'm saying if you have it on streaming, then if you don't want to watch that, there's other options to where, as with cable or free TV, there's no other option. You have to watch what they
See?
have there.
Streaming is better.
So,
Good night, everybody.
yep.
There you go.
Good for them.
I didn't realize one football game was on all channels, on everything, including
All 5 channels.
No, just the good stuff.
and even on CMT, which hey, whatever.
I don't know
Anyway.
what CMT is, but yeah,
Country
just the
music-
good stuff.
country music television.
Oh, well, they can interrupt that too.
Wow. I know some people that have a disagreement with you, but okay.
They don't play football games on country stations, do they?
Good night, everybody.
Okay. That would would be weird, but okay.
You sure?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not even going to ask for shout-outs. I want to fucking end
We
this
ain't got
right
none
now.
anyway.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Want to thank Pop Goes to Culture for allowing us to be part of a great group of fellow podcasters. Check out the link in the show notes. I also want to thank the fine men and women who have been kind enough to spread the word of the fellowship on Twitter/X by reposting our links. The best way to check them out is to do a search, #PodernFamily. Just scroll through, whatever catches your attention. By all means, click on that link, download the episode, and we'll hope you have a good time listening to them. Want to thank Manny the Martyr for supplying the music to the podcast. In our show notes, you can check out their fine music. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. We would love to have feedback from you. Any questions, comments, suggestions, complaints, observations, what have you, please send them our way. Email address is email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. Or just go to the website, go to the About Us page, and there's a contact form you can fill out there. If you join our Discord, we do have a channel specifically for feedback where you can post your thoughts there. On social media, we're on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks, on Twitter/X, and Instagram, and Hive Social. We're at Fellowship Geeks. If you want to follow our personal Twitter accounts, Mike can be found at MikeyGeek. Liz can be found at LN_geek. Les may or may not be found at Fake Les Webster. And I can be found at TomTCGeek. And from wherever you download our episodes, if you be so kind as to rate and review the show, it'd be greatly appreciated. Anything else before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate you listening.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We appreciate your support as always. Until next time, geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,